How's it going, everyone? Wayne the Unknown here, and welcome to another episode of Cosplay Con Talk, where we basically discuss everything pertaining to the cosplay community and conventions. Tonight, we are doing another segment on Get to Know That Cosplayer, and tonight's featured guest is Consul of Cosplay. How are we doing tonight?
Hi, I'm doing pretty good. Just chilling.
Well, I'm glad we were able to get that whole situation fixed.
Oh, yeah.
Um, so usually when it comes to this kind of thing, I will always ask. So to begin, how long have you been cosplaying for?
I have been cosplaying since 2009. So, what is that? 12 years? Something like that? I can't do math, so.
Roughly. I mean, that's when I first, heard about cosplaying and conventions and everything was 2009. So how old were you then when you started cosplaying then?
I think I started making my first cosplay when I was 12. But I officially wore it to my first con when I was 13.
Long time.
Yeah, I feel like cosplay years are like dog years. Where it's like every 1 year that I've been a cosplayer, I've actually aged like 6 years. I feel so ancient sometimes talking to a lot of these younger cosplayers. I've literally used the phrase back in my day, referring to like older conventions and like things like that. I was like, back in my day, cosplay competitions were called masquerades. Like,
I
yeah,
have
I feel yeah.
never. So that's what every time I hear masquerade. So cosplay contests used to be called masquerades.
Yeah, cosplay contests used to be called masquerades, but then when conventions started doing like balls and dances, they would have actual masquerade balls. And so a lot of people were confused between having the masquerade as the cosplay competition and masquerade as the ball. So to where they just started calling cosplay competitions just cosplay competitions. There's still one convention. I think it's ALA, Anime Los Angeles. I think still calls their competition a masquerade. I don't remember. It's a California anime con that still calls it a masquerade, but most all other conventions that I've heard about or been to call them cosplay competitions.
Nice. Do you remember what your very first cosplay was?
Yes, I actually still have it. And it was Tony Chopper from One Piece. I looked super adorable, but it was also terrible. But I only looked super adorable because I was young and 12.
So wait,
The actual costume itself is not very good.
what was the character's name?
Tony Chopper from One Piece. It's the little reindeer
Oh,
boy.
Chopper! Oh my god.
Yeah, it's the little reindeer boy. Yeah,
Oh man,
that was my first
his
cosplay.
his 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 story is so sad.
I know. He's so adorable. He's so cute.
Uh,
I'm obsessed.
so before we go on further, what was the hardest thing about that cosplay? Did you make it yourself, or did you buy it, or how'd you go about that?
So, at the time, purchasing cosplays wasn't really a thing because cosplay wasn't as big as it was now.
Oh
So
no.
it was, yeah. So there were no any sort of like costume accessories that were like easily acceptable, accessible. So, my mom had a really old sewing machine. She's not a seamstress by any means, but she knows enough to get by. So we went out to Joann's and Goodwill, got myself some like kind of brown like fuzzy fabric, and we got myself some purple shorts and and we just made some like leg warmers and arm warmers, and I wore like some black gloves for like his little hooves and black socks. So it was just like And then I had like a brown like long sleeve shirt that I wore like the little arm warmers over and like a little I made myself like a little furry collar. But yeah, my mom helped me sew it all. And yeah, I actually for my 10-year cosplay anniversary, I put on the original costume and I took some photos in the original costume completely unchanged and it's extremely cursed.
For
But
nostalgia purposes, I take it.
yeah, yeah, for nostalgia purposes, I figured that that would be a good one for my 10-year little anniversary that I had for cosplay, and I posted it on his birthday that year. But yeah, yeah, the hat was an old like Party City birthday hat, I think. So it was like a little top hat, and then we paint just like 500 coats of like bright pink like acrylic paint over this
Five
hat.
500?
Not actually, but it felt like
Oh, I
500. It
just
was
say it's like that's a lot of
it was
paint.
a lot. It was a lot of paint, but yeah. And then we painted like a little white X on the front. And then my sister, one of my older sisters, was super into clay, so she took some wire hangers and made little horns, the little antlers. With a wire hanger base, and then she started molding clay around the wire hangers, and that those became my antlers, and we painted those brown, and then we drilled a hole in the hat and like shoved the end of the wire hanger through the hat, and like just so much hot glue holding that wire in there. Like it was honestly a miracle that it stayed together.
I'm actually looking at the picture right now on your Instagram, and that's yeah, honestly, for what the material you guys had and everything, that's a really well done chopper.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it was like if you I think if you scroll to the end, you can actually see me like when I was a little baby and 12, and I had acrylic paint on my nose and like no other makeup. And then all of my hair was just in a ponytail on the top of my head, like all shoved into that hat. Um, yeah. It's kind of a yeah, nostalgia. So much nostalgia I have with that.
Nice. Now, I do believe I asked, what was it like going to your first con?
Uh, my first con was Komori Con 2009.
And this is when it was still in Vancouver, correct?
Uh, I think this was the year before it went to Vancouver. So it was in a hotel in Portland, I think, on the waterfront, and then it went to Vancouver, and then I think it went back to Portland, and then back to Vancouver. I don't know. It swapped back and forth between Portland and Vancouver a few times in a couple of hotels before it settled in Vancouver.
Nice.
And then before going to the convention center, obviously.
And then also, it's like, so it goes between Komori Con, I mean, it goes between Portland and Vancouver on occasion?
Just at the time it did when it was still in the hotels. Now it's just always going to be in the convention center. I can't imagine it being anywhere else. But at the time, yeah, it was in a hotel. I think it was a Red Lion hotel, like in Portland. I don't think that hotel's even there anymore. And then it went to Vancouver, and then it went back to Portland, back to Vancouver, and then it stayed in that downtown Vancouver in Esther Shore Park, or over by Esther Shore Park, until it moved to the convention center, and now it's just always at the convention center.
Nice. Also, this video probably won't be posted for a while, so you may have more followers by then. But congratulations at the time for 1,000 followers on your Instagram.
Thank you. Yeah, it literally happened yesterday.
Yeah, I gotta definitely thank Cosplay Me for sharing your Instagram.
I know, she's so sweet. Like, for how long we've known each other, I'm honestly shocked that we haven't cosplayed together, and I really, 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 really want to cosplay with her. Like, we've been trying to plan something, and it just never quite ends up, like, happening. So, but yeah, she's amazing.
Oh,
She's
shout out
great.
to Cosplay Me. And also
Yes.
be sure to check out her podcast interview as well.
Oh yeah, yeah. She had me on her podcast with the soccer arrangers.
Another
Uh
group I'm wanting to interview one of these days.
yeah, they're really, really fun. That was another fun interview. They're
Nice.
just a really good group of people. We have a good group of people down here in like the over Portland area.
Nice.
Oregon, Oregon in general is a very good. Pacific Northwest is a very good cosplay scene. Lots of really nice
I've
people.
I've definitely come to notice that. I like it here a lot for sure. Moving on. Now, is there that one cosplay that you've not done in so long that you probably consider bringing back?
There's so many of those. I have an entire just like bin of cosplays that I want to just remake from scratch. One of them, if I had to pick one just to do like right now, probably my Loki cosplay from a series called Kamigami no Asobi. Um, Either that or Toto from Hakyoki. One of those two, which are very, I wouldn't say super obscure, but
No, is Toto is that you see from that anime that's about volleyball?
oh, different Toto. And actually kind of a very similar name that you now that you mention it. Because it's Hakyoki, where the volleyball anime is Haikyuu. So it's actually very similar now that I think about it. But no, Hakyoki is it's an Otome franchise that also had a fighting anime adaptation, and then yeah it's an Otome,
What
but it's about samurai. So
okay, I am not familiar with that genre of anime. I'm old school, mind you. I was raised on Dragon Ball, Sailor Moon, Gundam, Pokemon, all those older anime.
yeah, I get that. Yeah, I watch a lot of like more obscure series. Not on purpose, like if that makes sense. I just kind of sometimes just scroll through and just pick random anime to watch. So I just always end up watching some really interesting and
I
obscure series.
I get that. I've seen a few obscure anime myself. Three I can name on the top of my head right now would be it's an anime that came out in early 2000s called Bobobo Bobobo.
Oh yes, yep, yeah, I
Uh,
know that.
Shin-chan.
I
It's
think I have the name. I don't know.
and
It's not.
I can't remember the third one right now. Next question. Now I've noticed on your Instagram, some of your cosplays, you're wearing that the man chest prosthetic. I can't remember what
Yeah.
they're called specifically.
I don't know. I just call them my silicone
Silicone
man chest.
chests. Um,
Yeah, the silicone chest.
Now what is I see? Like I said, I saw like your like the one character you call from One Piece, and then that other one that you did. What is it like wearing those?
Um, it's really hot. There's since it's all silicone, there's not really any breathability. Um, so it gets really hot really easily and very sweaty. Um, Getting in and out of it is also pretty weird because it's so like floppy. And so I have to cover myself in baby powder and then squeeze a whole bunch of baby powder on the inside of and coat the entire inside of the silicone suit and then like wiggle my way in. And it's almost it can get it off by myself, but it's really, really hard. So I usually try and have a friend help me. I usually only wear the silicone suit if I know someone's going to be there with me for when I have to take it off. So just because it's really hard and I'm paranoid that I'm going to get stuck because I have a fear of that.
I mean that makes sense. Now, because I've never asked this before, what is the process of cleaning those things?
I mean, you can clean them with like normal like soap and water, um, and just kind of like gently scrub it. And then I usually do like a little light, and then I pat it dry. I don't like rub it or anything. I pat it dry, and then I leave a towel like on the inside of the silicone suit so that the two ends of the silicone like don't touch when it's all wet and weirdly like sticky. Not sticky, but like wet so it doesn't stick together and I have to like peel it apart. And then once it's like completely dry and air dried, then I'll like gently like powder it just a tiny little bit so that it I don't get any like weird stuff that's like sticks to the silicone. But you can just wash it like with like normal like soap and water or like yeah, just normal soap and water.
Okay. How much do those usually like go for? Like, how much did you spend on yours?
Mine was about roughly about $300. Yeah, it was definitely an investment, but I knew I had a lot of costumes that I wanted to do that would be useful for it. So, I figured the investment was worth it for how many costumes that I wanted to use for it.
I believe it. I mean, I think the most common one I've seen used for the chest is Inosuke from Demon Slayer.
Yeah, yeah. I cosplayed a Nosuke once already. I don't have any good photos of him on my profile, but I want to cosplay him again and use my chest, fake chest for that. Yeah, for big investment things like that, I try to make sure that I at least have a couple of costumes already in mind before I make the
The
purchase.
purchase.
Yeah. Well, with the exception of my stilts, that one I just
Stilts.
yeah, I just impulse bought those.
Who are those going to be used for? Have you already used them?
Yeah, there's a series called Land of the Illustrious. Um, it's the gem one that's not Steven Universe. It's the one about the gems, the living gemstones. Um, and they to not give away any sort of spoilers for the series because it that series kind of gets crazy. But there's these people called the Lunarians that appear and they try to hunt down the gemstones to use them and harvest their body parts for jewelry. So these gemstones have to learn how to fight back. Um, and it's yeah, it's a pretty cool series, but there's this character named Achilles who's kind of this like fish, like this humanoid fish creature. And he is like three times the height of these living gemstones. And so to get that height difference between all these cosplayers cosplaying these gemstones, I purchased stilts because I thought it'd be cool. But,
I've
but luckily, I have found a couple of other costumes that I do want to use the stilts for, so I can make the excuse that it was an investment and not an impulse purchase. That I've thought of a couple of other costumes I want to use them for.
nice. Yeah, I'm looking it up right now. So is it like would it be in the same universe as Steven Universe?
No, completely different universe, but a lot of people, I tell them it's the series with the gems, they just assume that it's Steven Universe, but no, it's a completely different series. It's called Land of Illustrious, that's the English title, and then Hoseki no Kuni is the Japanese title.
Okay. All right. Interesting. Interesting. Now, has there been that one cosplay that you've done once and you would never want to do it again? It was just like a one and done. Like I don't want to ever do this again, despite despite how good it looked.
Um, yeah, I have a couple like that. Not because I wouldn't want to cosplay the character again in general, but just because the original costume that I made for it was just so bad. It was just so poorly made. Um, I literally don't think I have any of them on my Instagram profile right now just because I hated how the costumes turned out. But one of them was like a Posol from Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess. One of them was a King Armakin from Augie.
Wait,
In
who?
his King Armakin from Magi in his
I
equip form.
I've never wait, Magi Kingdom of Magic or
Magic
Labyrinth of Magic or Kingdom of Magic?
Kingdom, I think. Yeah, because Kingdom's the second season, right?
Yes.
I think. Yeah, yeah. So I believe he doesn't show up until Kingdom of Magic.
And his name is what?
King Armakin. He's one of the Gosh, what are they? One of Sinbad's allies. I don't remember what he calls his allies. It's not one of his generals, but one of his allies.
I mean, I know there's one who looks like a lizard, the tall one. Um, I wouldn't know. I haven't got that far in Magi.
Yeah, he literally shows up for maybe like 2 episodes, and I'm pretty sure he doesn't have any lines. That's honestly pretty standard for the type of characters that I like to cosplay. I'm like, yes, that one character that's only there for a single episode. I must cosplay them.
The obscure characters.
Yeah, and it's not because I necessarily only pick obscure characters, because I obviously cosplay main characters as well, like Zoro or Ace or whatever. But that's just how it happens sometimes. Because that's exactly how the Stilts cosplay was as well. That character's in one episode of the entire anime. It's just how my brain works. I just latch on to a character and I'm like, and they cannot ever leave my mind.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. Now another question I always ask this to I try to ask this for every cosplayer. What are your thoughts on thrifting, especially if you're on a budget?
Oh, that's pretty much exclusively how I make my costumes. If I'm not entering a competition, I will go to Goodwill and try and thrift as much as I can for my costumes, just because A, it's cheaper, and B, you can find a lot of more like unique pieces, or like vintage pieces that you can upcycle, with like some interesting patterns. I get pretty much all of my shoes, my cosplay shoes, from Goodwill. I love thrifting. Yeah, if it's a competition piece and I have to make something from scratch, then and I'm looking for something extremely specific, and it's pretty hard to thrift that sort of thing. And what I like to do is, even for some competition pieces, I've thrifted things like bed sheets or curtains or things from Goodwill and used that just as fabric. Or I'll take articles of clothing that I find and alter them or use them as patterns, or yeah, I go thrifting all the time.
Nice, very nice.
I actually entered a costume into a competition where all of the fabric that I had sewn, like I had sewn the entire costume from scratch. I had made everything from scratch, but all of the fabric that I had used for the piece was thrifted from various places.
Mind saying what that cosplay was that you entered in the contest?
Yeah, it was Toto from Hakyoki, the one that I was talking about earlier, the samurai one.
Nice.
Yeah, all of the fabric on that was entirely thrifted. The entire costume was entirely thrifted, basically. All thrifted material. I like made the costume from scratch, but all the material itself was entirely thrifted.
Very cool. Now, speaking of cosplay contest, what's some advice you would like to give to first time cosplayers who want to enter their first contest?
Oh, goodness. It's been a long time since I personally have entered a competition. I used to do competitions almost every single year, but um controversial opinion, I guess. I think competitions have lessened in, I guess, the competition aspect of it, like lessened in intensity, I suppose. Um, like cosplay contest portfolios, like portfolios about your costume and how it was made and the materials you used to be a mandatory requirement in cosplay contests, but a lot of new cosplayers who enter competitions don't even know that those existed at one point, which is really interesting. So I guess, oh, it's so hard. New advice is probably just when you go to get judged, because every single convention is different and how they judge it is completely different. When you go to get judged, know what you're going to say ahead of time so that you don't miss any aspect of your costume. And I know that kind of sounds weird to like rehearse what you're going to say before you get there, but knowing that you made something like from scratch or nearly from scratch and you have a super important part of the costume that you made and then you forget to tell the judges about that or a cool technique that you used or something you learned and you forget about that, you'll be hitting yourself in the head over and over and over again for forgetting to tell the judges how cool that one thing was. Like on the Toto costume that I entered into the competition, um, my shoes were entirely hand woven, and they took like 12 hours per shoe.
12 hours?
That I,
Wow.
yeah, per shoe that I had hand woven. Um, and because I had entered that into two different competitions, and I forgot the first competition, I forgot to tell them that my shoes were completely hand woven. And I was just hitting myself in the head over and over and over again. I was like, oh, I can't believe I forgot that. So I would just say, rehearse what you're going to say to the judges about your costume. I just go head to toe. This is my wig. This is how I styled it, and then all the way down, like this is the makeup, this is the techniques I use, these are my contacts, like, oh, this shirt, I did this, that, and the other thing. I just go head to toe all the way down, and I just rehearse how I made every little tiny piece of my costume and what I'm going to say to the judges.
It's some pretty sound
That's,
advice.
yeah, that's as good as I can probably give you, because yeah, I haven't done a competition in a long time, so
Hey, even I mean, hell, I mean, like I said, even though you haven't done it in a long time, any kind of advice, especially for first time cosplay contest goers, I think that that really helps.
yeah, yeah, and they've changed a lot over the years too.
Oh no,
So,
definitely. So we got like less than a minute to go. Any last minute
oh
advice?
no.
It's okay. Any last minute advice you like to throw out there for first time con goers and cosplayers?
Um, just be nice. Just be nice, be respectful. Um, yeah, pretty much. Just everyone is there to have a good time. We're all dressing up as fictional characters. Um, no one's better than anyone else. We're all just having fun, and as long as you can just have fun, no matter what skill level you're at, no matter if it's store bought, handmade, doesn't matter. Just have fun, have a good time, be nice to everyone, and yeah.
That's again some really sound advice. Again, Consul, thank you for coming on and sharing your cosplay experience and journey, and also the advice you gave to again. I think those who listen or who wanted to get to considering getting a cosplay will appreciate that.
Hmm. Yeah, no problem. It was a lot of fun. I Everyone is always free to DM me on Instagram. My DMs are completely open. I will send you videos of how I make things. I will give you as much advice as I possibly can. So anyone is more than welcome to DM me whenever if they want help on any part of their costume. I'm more than happy to help. And I love doing these sorts of interview things, just being able to give newbies my advice. I love this hobby. It's my favorite thing pretty much ever. So I love talking about it. Any opportunity I have to talk about it, I'll take it. So thank you so much for having me. It's so much fun.
Hey, don't mention again. Links to their Instagram will be in the description below, so you can check them out and look at their cosplays. And again, ask any questions you have.
Awesome. Thank you.
You are very welcome. Again, everyone, I'm Winnie Unknown. Thank you for listening to Cosplay Con Talks. Get to know that cosplayer. As always, thank you for listening and thank you for watching.